to what extent do those things depend on government regulation and overreach? The government will tell you that every step they take and every regulation they make and every infringement on freedom they give you is necessary because it allows you to do those things.
Right.
I'm telling you that's a lie. And I'm telling you that if the government ceased tomorrow or snapped back to where it was 20 years ago in terms of regulation, your life wouldn't change. You wouldn't be any...
I remember 20 years ago. It was good.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's a sign of getting old. We all think 20 years ago was great.
No, but it wasn't radically Wild West or anything. It was good.
No, but that's my point, is the government slowly increasing, or it's not even increasing. What it is, it's a crowding out of initiative, agency. Rothbard's pretty extreme, but one thing he does say is that everything the state does comes at the expense of private enterprise and
Yes.
individual agency and initiative.
What's the problem with that, though?
The problem with that is that at a certain point, it changes the way people think and behave.
Already has, clearly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it will do so by changing language. Like people will lose the ability to have conversations about freedom, and that's already fracturing. So
Right.
what we're doing now
Yeah.
of you putting the gauntlet of like Freedom Party and stuff to me
Yeah.
is we're losing even an ability to agree on what freedom means.
Yes.
And imagine in 20 years' time, because all of our systems as a Western democracy, our courts, our police, everything, it's all underpinned by the enlightenment principles.
Yes.
But if you take those away, Western democracy is just tyranny. Like there's no inherent value in democracy that isn't granted to it either originally by the church or later by secular enlightenment.
Yes.
If you strip away those, and libertarianism probably falls within the second, that secular enlightenment thing.
Yes.
If you strip away those shared values that underpin the institutions themselves are just hollow husks that can be used to repress and do exactly what we've seen in the last 2 years. So if you say to me, why does freedom matter? I'd say anyone who was asked that question before the last 3 years would struggle to answer it. But surely the last 3 years is the answer to that question.
Okay, but again, I still don't think the question is answered because the last 3 years were in general good for most people. This is a pill that the freedom side are not willing to swallow.
Yeah, I find that, I wonder how true that is though, because I think there's a lot of people who now they're saying, that depression and anxiety and all these diagnoses are like through the roof.
They were already escalating pre-COVID.
They were, that's true. But, I think there's a reluctance. I don't think people, so what you're saying is the last 3 years was probably really good if you were a government employee
Not
working
just
from
that,
home.
not just that. I'm talking about the millennial shift. So I'm talking about Friedrich Nietzsche's End of Days. He predicts that we should go into the Übermensch, which is this version of utopia, and we should not go to nihilism. But he says humanity will end up, Friedrich Nietzsche's famous saying, God is dead and who shall we replace him with, right?
Yes.
He says after we've done this, we're going to go towards the will to power and the tyranny of something, the tyranny of the state.
So the libertarian answer to Nietzsche would be, who do we replace him with? The state.
Right. And so he was very much on board with that, but he says in the end, we're probably going to end up in the middle, unfortunately, in a anesthetized existence of WALL-E, the movie WALL-E, where all the humans are a Pixar movie, where they're fat, never have developed bone density because they've been lying on their beds since birth. But they're cared for and comforted. And when I look around, that is everywhere in everybody in current society, comfort in the West.